I'm Tina Thorstensen, ASU's Deputy CIO and Chief Information Security Officer. Welcome to this year's Information Security Update. The mission of the Information Security Office is to protect the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of ASU's computing resources while maintaining our open culture that's so important to us as an academic institution. Each of you as an ASU faculty or staff member are responsible for protecting and securing the university assets and data resources that are under your control. The Information Security Office strives to provide you helpful tools, processes, and policies to assist you and your department or unit protect those critical university resources. During this training, you'll receive a briefing on current information security threats and also learn how you can leverage the growing set of ASU services designed to help protect our community. You can view the list of resources mentioned in this briefing by going to Get Protected and selecting Security Training. The safety of our ASU community, including students, faculty, and staff, is top priority. We appreciate you taking the time to familiarize yourself with the current ways in which information at the university can be at risk and how you might best protect yourself and university resources.
Even if you know a lot about cybersecurity and avoid suspicious sites or services that steal your information, the constantly changing world of cybercrime can make its way past your defenses. Let's say you receive an email from what appears to be your department's dean or department head. The email address looks legitimate at first glance, and the message is an urgent one. You click on the link provided, and a strange site appears and immediately downloads malware to your laptop or phone. What you didn't notice was a one-letter difference in the email address's domain name and link. You've been hooked by a phishing attack. Phishing is any attempt to trick people into giving information or access to cybercriminals. These may come in the form of emails, phone calls, social media sites, internet ads, and text messages. They can even come in the guise of a friend, colleague, or an unsolicited individual or organization, sometimes offering something almost too good to be true, like a free iPad or a substantial gift card, to make it particularly enticing. Phishing is a popular mode of attack because it's cheap for attackers and it often works. Let's look at a couple of phishing campaigns that we have seen at ASU. But first, know that ASU will never ask you for your password. Furthermore, no one at ASU will ever ask to change personal direct deposit information via email or a text, since everyone who receives a paycheck from ASU can update their own direct deposit information through My ASU self-service. Some phishing campaigns send you to a fake login screen that looks nearly identical to My ASU or another website you frequently use at ASU in an attempt to capture your login ID and password as you type, which the attacker then uses to log in the application, service, or file repository as you. Most services at ASU use our ASU Right authentication, which is two-factor enabled to help protect you. If you find yourself entering a website at work that doesn't use your ASU Right as the login ID, take a moment to ask if the site could be made available through ASU Right, or at the very least, have two-factor enabled. Others may trick you into clicking a link that looks legitimate, but installs malware into your computer instead. This can happen silently in the background without you realizing it and are called drive-by downloads. Other phishing campaigns, especially ones posing as IRS officials or banks, will ask for important information immediately, attempting to play on your emotional response to the sense of urgency to distract you, not giving you time to think that it may be a scam. And then there is ransomware, software that holds your system hostage by locking or encrypting it, making it unavailable. Victims are often blackmailed into paying a ransom in the hopes of restoring access to their data or access to a particular service that's important to the organization. Having great backups is one of the best ways to stay ahead of ransomware. Another is adware, where you click an advertisement on a legitimate website that can lead to a variety of things, including the installation of malware. Spyware is much less obvious and attempts to steal your information without making itself known. Staying ahead of these schemes requires each of us to remain vigilant. While ASU deploys some of the latest technology to minimize the impact of these schemes, some attacks make it through, requiring you as the recipient of the scheme to think before you respond. With a little preparation, you can stop those that make their way to you. If you think you've been on the receiving end of one of these schemes, contact your IT desk-side support team or reach out to the ASU Experience Center immediately. If it's an email, send it to infosec@asu.edu so ASU can not only protect you, but others as well. In summary, here are a few steps you can take to protect you and ASU. 1. Back up your documents. Store your files in an enterprise storage location where they are always backed up. Leverage ASU enterprise tools like Dropbox, OneDrive, and Google Drive to store your information so backups are automatic. 2. Stop and think. Don't go to sites you don't know you can trust, or worse yet, download files. And watch for attacks and schemes designed to disrupt ASU. If a message sounds fishy, don't respond. Forward it to infosec@asu.edu for review instead. Remember, when in doubt, call it out. 3. If you receive an unsolicited email from a colleague that you were not expecting, contact them through a fresh message. Call or text to confirm whether or not it is a legitimate message. Don't reply to the unexpected message. Remember, no one from ASU will ask for your password, banking info, or other similarly sensitive personal information via email. 4. See your local IT desk-side support team for help with the following if you believe you responded to one of these malicious campaigns. To ensure you have proper protections enabled for your equipment, including laptops, tablets, and phones, any device you use for your work at ASU. To confirm that your devices, including computers, tablets, and phones, are set to automatically update the operating systems with the latest security patches. 5. Above all else, remember that all devices that connect to the ASU network or are used to connect remotely to connect to ASU systems need effective security measures enabled. At ASU, we each work with all kinds of sensitive data every day. Whether you conduct research, teach class, oversee clubs, organize events, assist students with admissions and registration, or have some other role at ASU, you may handle personally identifying information, known as PII, such as financial, health, and academic information. This information may be protected under regulations like FERPA for education records, HIPAA for safeguarding medical information, or even the European General Data Protection Regulation, intellectual property, human subjects research, or information related to national security. Safely handling the data and information we interact with goes far beyond avoiding phishing scams. Imagine a thief breaking into a university office and stealing an unencrypted laptop containing student information. The affected students would be impacted significantly and, depending on the data stolen, may be at risk of identity theft and financial fraud. The recovery process is difficult for the affected members of the community. Trust in the university goes down, and it is resource-intensive for the university involved, taking time away from our collective higher education mission. Theft can happen in even the most vigilant universities and organizations. But when data is encrypted, or there is no sensitive data at all, the data is safe and the impact is significantly lower all the way around. ASU has data handling standards that tell us how to access, use, store, and transmit sensitive information. It's important that we follow them and know how, when, to get rid of data once it is no longer needed. Read this standard online by visiting Two major requirements apply to nearly all types of sensitive information. 1. Store data in an approved enterprise document storage location, not on your own computer. And 2. Encrypt it. See the Information Security Office's Data Handling Matrix at. You will find storage solutions on campus and in popular cloud storage systems for each classification of data you're looking to store. To help ensure your data is used in ways you expect, follow these simple steps. 1. Turn location services off unless you need it for services such as maps. Use the setting that only enables location services while you have the app running. When you are done with maps, ride-sharing, or other location-based apps, close the application on your phone to disable location tracking. 2. Before you sign up for a new app or online service, review the privacy policy for organizations you plan to interact with before you give them your data. And finally, proper storage, transmission, and removal of data, particularly sensitive data, reduces the university's risk of unwanted data exposure. If you don't need it, delete it. Physical security is increasingly intertwined with digital security, an all-encompassing term which includes the tools you can use to secure your identity, assets, and technology in the online and mobile world. Remember, in many cases, an attacker's job is suddenly much simpler with access to the physical device or asset, to the laptop, the plane, the car, the HVAC system, the refrigerator. You get the idea. None of us likes spending time thinking about events that might make for a bad day, but for the next few minutes, we want to share a few stories that might make you think twice about how you can best protect the devices in your care. Take this example. Sue realized she left her laptop in an Uber just as it was pulling away. She hadn't taken the time when she bought her personal laptop a year ago to encrypt the hard drive and started to work from home several days a week. Now, she has it loaded with design documents and presentation materials, some of them with sensitive information that would be nearly impossible to locate again or recreate before she presents to her review board next week. Before something like this happens to you, take a few moments to set things up from the start. Encrypt your devices. Change the default login information to use strong passwords and multi-factor, two-factor services like Duo or biometrics, for example. Arrange for all of your services and file systems to automatically back things up. Make sure you know how to enable the remote wipe feature, just in case you ever need it. If you do not know where to begin, contact your local IT desk-side support team. Or, if it's a personal device, visit your device's manufacturer website for some how-to articles, or call your daughter, your uncle, or whoever that techie person is in your life to get you set up. Another concern related to physical proximity is, like it or not, we're all susceptible to social engineering schemes involving face-to-face interactions where the people around us appear to belong or we are too busy to take note of an unfamiliar face in the office. Here are things you can do to avoid real physical threats to your physical assets. When you see an unfamiliar face in the workplace, don't be afraid to ask, "Can I help you find someone?" If the individual needs access to an office, lab, or printer in a room you control, make sure you take a moment to verify that this service call is expected. Be careful of unsolicited requests by technical staff to perform an update on your computer or other equipment in your office, or maintenance workers who want access to an office or lab or other similar scenarios. If someone you don't know wants access to a place or device that you control, have them wait until you fully verify their identity. If they are there on legitimate business, they won't mind, and should expect procedures and precautions to be in place. Lastly, here are some simple tips for enhancing your personal security as well as the security of university assets. If you see something, say something. If something just doesn't feel right, don't hesitate to report it. It's people just like you who have stopped major insider crimes. Your instinct could save time, trouble, and money for the entire university community. Every time you leave your desk, lock up your computer, tablet, phone, and any other valuable electronic device. Do not leave sensitive documents on your desk. Lock them in an office or drawer. Use a cable lock to prevent theft. Most stolen laptops are grabbed and gone before their owners know what happened. Consider using a privacy screen to keep others from snooping over your shoulder. A privacy screen makes it so your screen can only be seen from directly in front. It is your responsibility to report any instances that clearly violate ASU policy, such as asking for passwords, unexplained access to financial resources, going through other people's desks or materials, or making copies of sensitive information. You can call the ASU hotline at 877-SUNDEVL to report these kinds of ethical violations. For more information on physical security and the hotline, visit getprotected.asu.edu/AIST links. In order to best protect your data and university assets, you need to familiarize yourself with ASU's privacy policy and ACD 125, Computer, Internet and Electronic Communications Management Policy, and the detailed supporting policies, standards, and guidance incorporated in the reference section. Our privacy policy can be found in the footer at the bottom of every ASU webpage and lays out what kind of data we collect. The data that is collected is only used to provide services consistent with ASU's charter and mission. ACD 125, a complement to our privacy policy, sets forth the definition of acceptable use of university computing and communication resources. ACD 125 highlights important items including computing and communications requirements such as compliance with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and regulations, as well as ASU and ABOR policies, and notification of the Information Security Office in the event of a security concern. Prohibited use of ASU computing and communications resources, such as revealing passwords or otherwise permitting the use by others. Restrictions and responsibilities for communicating information electronically, including on ASU computers or web pages. Users are responsible for the protection, security, and integrity of university data and resources under their control. ACD 125 is an aid for safe, efficient work that is compliant with legal requirements and policies. Please take a moment to pause and read ACD 125. The full list of information security policies and standards can be found in the References section of ACD 125 or by going directly to getprotected.asu.edu. It can't go without saying, use strong passwords and two-factor. Every week, there is a new story about hackers gaining access to online accounts and networks. In some cases, these infiltrations are the result of advanced technological knowledge skills, but in the majority of cases, unauthorized access to individuals' online presence is gleaned from simple guesswork or a successful phish. Weak passwords are one of the many attack vectors cybercriminals can use to gain access to your information or information assets at ASU. A strong password is the key to keeping your information secure. A weak password is easy to guess for hackers, and using the same one across multiple accounts ensures a chain reaction of access that can disrupt your entire digital presence, whether professionally or personally. Stolen bank information, identity theft, or loss of crucial university data are just some of the possible consequences of poor password maintenance. There are a few exercises you can do to work those safe login muscles. First, don't share your password with others. You're responsible for whatever they do while logged in as you. Second, use a passphrase instead of a password. The latter is much more easily guessed by someone who knows you or your family's names, pets' names, your interests, etc. Using lyrics to a favorite song, movie quote, or other meaningful phrase is much more difficult to guess, and misspelling certain words or replacing letters with numbers or symbols will only strengthen your password. Don't overshare information about yourself online. The more you share, the easier it is for the people behind social engineering schemes to pretend to be your long-lost friend from high school or pretend to be with an organization they know you are passionate about. All of these schemes try to trick you into doing something you shouldn't do. Don't share identifiable information like your birth year, high school, or other common facts found, and refrain from using them in your passwords or security questions. You wouldn't use this same key for your car, house, mailbox, and so on. So in the same way, use different passwords for each of your accounts. One correct guess from an attacker, and they have access to your entire digital presence. Here at ASU, we use two-factor authentication, which requires something you know, like your password, and something you have, like your phone, to securely identify you as the owner of your information. We encourage you to use two-factor processes for all of the online sites and services you frequent both personally and professionally. This measure drastically reduces the chance of someone successfully pretending to be you online. Always change the default password on new devices when you first turn them on. This includes phones, laptops, thermostats, fitness wristbands, and more. Beware of phishing schemes that ask for login information because of some kind of problem with your account. ASU will not ask you for your password, period. Don't keep your passwords written down or near your keyboard or computer, just like you don't leave your car keys right next to your car in the parking lot. If you need help managing your passwords, use ASU's LastPass to manage and secure your passwords across devices. For more information, please visit getprotected.asu.edu/AIST links. Protecting ASU's data and information is crucial to the university. ASU conducts vital teaching, research, and discovery, and is a trusted learning environment for tens of thousands of students, parents, and families. It is important that each of us at ASU do our part to protect ourselves and our ASU community, and encrypting data is one of the keys to keeping information private and minimize the chance that external entities can access the information we wish to protect. There are two primary rules to encryption: encrypt data in motion and data at rest. Rule number 1, if it moves, encrypt it. Data in transit is what it sounds like, information being sent from one point to another. Your laptop or phone to the laptop of your colleague at another university. Data in transit may be accessed by hackers and cyber thieves if they have access to the network it's traveling through. Encrypting data provides another layer of protection because the data is unreadable until it is unencrypted at the receiving end of the transmission. Here are some encryption options for data in transit. At ASU, connect to the official ASU Wi-Fi, not to ASU Guest. Turn on encryption on your home wireless network. Consult your home router's owner manual for instructions. Make sure you trust everything else on the network before you connect your computer, tablet, or phone. Don't use free or open public Wi-Fi. Look for padlocked, password-protected, or secured Wi-Fi connections. use an encrypted connection to get your email. Never send sensitive data via email, period. Share documents from a secure location, like ASU's Dropbox for Education, instead of sending a copy of the document in your email message. Finally, use ASU's SSL VPN when you connect to ASU servers. It's available on campus and off. Rule number 2. If it just sits there, encrypt it. Information on a disk, drive, USB stick, or other media is data at rest. Encryption renders it unreadable without the proper access and keys, which is why it's so helpful. Here's what you can do to encrypt your data at rest. For your computer, turn on full disk encryption using BitLocker or FileVault, or the encryption built into your operating system. Contact your IT desk-side support for help as needed. On your smartphone, look for the encryption option in the settings and turn it on. For flash drives, camera cards, and other external media, use BitLocker to go or other encryption software with a strong password. Remember to encrypt backups too. Check for an encryption option in your backup software. ASU recommends a variety of encryption tools for Windows, Mac, Linux, and even mobile devices. A complete list can be found on getprotected.asu.edu. Every day, more and more devices are connected to the internet, beyond your phone to thermostats, home security systems, refrigerators, and cars. All are part of a web called the Internet of Things, or IoT. These devices enhance our lives, simplifying activities and making some things much more convenient. It is possible for us to check on our home when we are away on a trip, play our favorite music and TV shows with voice commands, or order items for home delivery in record time. It's important to remember, though, that these conveniences can potentially allow hackers to slip into your network or access sensitive data if the devices have not been secured. If you're bringing internet-connected IoT devices to campus, you'll need to contact your department's IT desk-side support team able to help you. 1. Monitor connections to devices to ensure only valid devices are reporting data. 2. Monitor the rate and type of data ASU IoT devices are transmitting. 3. Ensure all sensitive ASU IoT data is encrypted in transit and at rest. 4. Identify which network segment the device should connect to. For home IoT devices, you should change the default password. The manufacturer's default passwords for devices are available to the public. Leaving it unchanged is like not having a password at all. Patch and update the device, preferably automatically, to ensure it has the latest features, as well as updates to address security vulnerabilities. Many products allow for auto updates. Consider whether you need to enable remote management. Some devices allow for you or your service provider to control the device remotely. For instance, do you need access to a device in your house when you are at work or on vacation? If the answer is yes, ensure you restrict remote management of the device so that you are the only one allowed to manage the device remotely. Better yet, if you don't need it, disable it entirely. Use two-factor authentication if the device supports it. This combines something you know, like a password, with something you have, like a cell phone, or something you are, like your fingerprint. Two-factor authentication makes the job of cybercriminals much harder. Unplug your smart devices and disconnect them from your network when not in use. Ultimately, the best thing you can do to prevent unwanted access via an IoT device is to have security settings properly configured and then remember to turn off the network connection when you're not using it. It's the small things that can make all the difference when it comes to keeping you, your systems, and the data contained on those devices safe. With current technology trends, more and more services are provided by third parties in cloud or managed service models. When ASU enters into contracts with vendors who will have access to our data running on their systems, it is critical that these vendors have data security practices that meet or exceed our standards. To provide these assurances, ASU has information security contracts language that must be included in every agreement and a greatly streamlined technical security review to aid us in maintaining an appropriate risk posture. Our contracts language requires the vendor to complete appropriate industry standard third-party audits, such as SOC 2 Type 2, which, simply put, means that an external team has assessed the security controls. Incorporate data privacy by design practices into the design and implementation of their software systems. Controls who can access ASU systems and data assets. Inform ASU if the vendor has information security incidents that may affect ASU. Store, use, and process ASU data in the U.S. or highlight cases where other geographical areas are in use. Perform timely updates and patches to protect the software system from things like malware and intrusions. Perform and provide evidence of timely system scans to identify possible security issues. These are sometimes called security scans, vulnerability scans, or penetration tests. Encrypt ASU data while stored and transmitted. Use secure software development and coding standards. Notify ASU if the vendor receives a subpoena for ASU data or changes where ASU data is stored. Ensure ASU data is backed up and meets our availability and accessibility requirements. If requested, provide ASU their information security business continuity plans. Data privacy is an important element that must be considered both when ASU contracts with third parties to provide systems, software, and services, or when we develop our own systems and software internally. There are numerous local, national, and international laws and regulations that limit data we collect and prescribe how we must protect it. These laws, regulations limit what data ASU and our vendors may collect, share, store, and use, and in many cases, prescribe how personal data must be protected. Examples of these laws include FERPA, HIPAA, state privacy and data breach notification laws, the GLBA, and the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, with many more on the way in the future. As ASU expands internationally and continues to develop new systems for processing data, we need to continue to focus on the need for the data we collect, when we share it, how we use it, and how we protect it. ASU incorporates the GDPR's principle of privacy by design and default into ASU's development and procurement of systems, software, services that process personal data. Privacy by design and default requires that ASU and our vendors implement appropriate technical and organizational measures to protect personal data and the rights of data subjects to control the use of their personal data. Privacy by design measures may include data anonymization and pseudonymization, limitations on the amount and types of data collected, and requiring that personal data not be shared with third parties without a lawful reason or without each data subject's specific, informed, freely given consent. Each department that deploys a technology service, whether it's a purchased product, a self-contained system, or a website, is responsible for maintaining the availability and security of the system within their control. And, in the event of a breach, the responsible department is also responsible for the costs involved in identifying the issue, remediating and restoring of service, as well as the costs of notifying the community affected. To minimize these risks, ASU now has a streamlined security review process designed to help identify risks specifically with technology purchases or projects. Whether purchasing devices or software, contracting for software as a service, or implementing a new web application, all of us are responsible for the security of ASU's computer systems. The security review process will provide you with the information you need to understand the potential risks involved when implementing new systems or services and learn how to minimize risk to ASU. When completed, the security review will provide the college or departmental unit a summary of any identified risks. The dean or department head will be made aware of high risks, and it is their decision to accept the risks and proceed or pursue a different option. But vendor management does not end with the signing of a contract and initial implementation of the service. It is important that the department assign responsibility to the correct individuals for managing the ongoing relationship with the vendor. This includes 1. Managing any mitigating controls that were identified during the risk assessment. 2. If this system is a high or medium criticality system, it needs to be stored in our central repository, ServiceNow, along with vulnerability scanning and pen testing documentation. This information must be collected, reviewed, and saved in the repository annually. 3. If the system has sensitive data, these individuals should request a copy of the SOC 2 Type 2 audit reports, document that ASU has coverage for the elements in our control as identified in the SOC report, and request and review security tests mentioned in the contract language and store them appropriately. 4. Determine if logging and monitoring should be initiated. Your senior tag representative can assist with how to review, update ASU controls pertinent to the service, and properly store these reports. For more information, visit Get Protected.
So this concludes the video portion of this year's information security training. You should now have a better understanding of ways you can improve ASU's overall information security posture. What's next? The final step is to review the study guide and then proceed directly to the quiz. The quiz only takes a few minutes, and you can retake the quiz as many times as you need until you receive a passing grade. The Information Security Office thanks you for taking the time to keep our university community safe.